little noisy in here. Let me just say that I have never driven a truck. Alright, so we just got here picking up the dump truck, and I'll show it to you real quick. Ford F700 dump truck, and it's in pretty good shape. I lifted the battery box. There's several new batteries in here. I don't really want to do it one-handed, but the batteries in there are fairly new. So like I said, it's in pretty good shape. Overall, it's pretty clean. Maybe a little touch-up paint on the cab. But I used my auxiliary tank to fill it up. I got a trip permit. I'll show engine and stuff when I get to my destination 2 hours away. But we'll see if it cranks. It does not crank. Okay, that's probably battery power. So let's get it jump started and see if it fires up. Alright, we got the battery cables hooked up. It's on the far left battery, which is the first battery in the bank, and it's got fuel. Alright, we're going to let it set on the battery for a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to let that chill for a minute. For about a minute here. Let's see. Voila! We have juice. Runs pretty good. I'm going to go unhook that battery, those battery terminals, and we're going to get on our way. Sounds real good. 180, 190,000 miles on it. Can't remember the exact number, but sounds real great. Sounds real great. So we're gonna get this unhooked and be on our way soon for a 2.5-hour drive home. And if I kill it, I got a problem, because I'll have to get the truck in front of it and jump it again. So here we go. My phone in my back pocket. A little noisy in here. Let me just say that I have never driven a truck. So, a truck this big, let me say. I have a Duramax, but it's automatic. I've never driven a manual truck of this size. So, I am gotta put my safety belt on. And Alright guys, so we made it home and we got the dump truck home, and overall it drove pretty decently. I want to get the front end checked out because I don't think the wheels should wiggle quite as wobble as much as it did. But we made it home 2.5 hours. Halfway through the trip, this here, the spring that holds the tarp back, like makes it spring loaded, that broke. I heard it snap and I'm like, I looked back and I saw it dangling and I was like, whatever. By the time we got home, the truck was able to start itself back up. So, and it starts right up now. So I think the batteries got charged back up in those 2.5 hours. You can see we've got some body work to do. I'll kind of go through the truck. I'll turn the camera around and kind of go through the truck a little bit better. Plans for this truck is to sand and paint the cab. I've got someone coming on Monday to replace the front windshield because it won't pass inspection. There's no valid inspection on it right now, but it will not pass an inspection without, with no cracks. It has to have no cracks in the windshield. So we'll do that. And I've got to get a shroud for this here. Overall, though, I think it's pretty great. Paint's flaking off the dump a little bit, but not that bad. I'll deal with that by sanding it and stuff later. So that's not a big deal. Overall, I think this is gonna be a good truck. I've got to get it in. I did find out that we were leaking some brake fluid the whole way home. But we got home, so that's what's important. When I get the hood open, I'll show you where it's leaking from. I just want to get it looked over and inspected. We're going to need a new tire for this thing, but I'll start it up and kind of run through, turn the camera around and run through it and kind of bounce back and forth. So I've already popped the lid just to make it easy on myself. Okay. So as you can see, the engine itself is pretty clean. And overall, when I looked at it, there was no fluid underneath it. Maybe it was just cleaned up well in it, but it did drive 2.5 hours home. I believe this is a 7.8 liter V6 diesel made by New Holland. Here you can see that it's going to need a new tire. That one's okay. I think this is the only one, unless they give me a little bit of grief over some cracking in the sidewall, which it's not terrible, but I'm gonna definitely need one tire. These tires are much better, and the steer tires are good. Here you can see where it's wet. Now this was not wet like this before, so there's droplets right there underneath the master. There were droplets on here too, underneath here, but I stopped and took a wrench and tightened these two up, but it still looks like it's leaking out of here. And these brakes, this is the Lucas Girling brake system. This is basically a power steering pump, but it's hydraulic pressure for the brakes. And then there's an electronic motor as a backup. So something in that's leaking. I'm actually losing quite a bit of fluid. Actually, the whole underside of the truck now is coated in brake fluid. So the engine transmission did not look wet before. It looks wet now, and it's not. I don't believe it's oil. I believe it's brake fluid, and it smells like brake fluid. But I think it's going to be a pretty good truck once I get it all, the kinks hammered out of it. Like I said, I'm going to have the brakes inspected early this coming week and figure out what's going on with that. If they tell me I need a new master, then I need a new master. So we'll close this. Overall, looks like I'll probably weld this here, fix that. I'm a pretty good welder. Well, I'm a professional grinder, but I can definitely weld that. I think the body work on this is too thick. I might call some junkyard, see what I can find for fiberglass hoods. If not, I'll just really sand this down. It's kind of done crappily because like you've got a groove here and then no groove. Like, come on, what are you thinking? But that's both sides. But I'll do the fiberglass. I got a DA sander. I'll sand it all down, spray it. We'll just use a single stage red urethane. I'll put the bed up and spray, put a safety bar so it can't come down and spray the whole bed or a whole cab. And I think it'll be a good looking truck once I do that. Maybe in another season or two, I'll sand the dump and do that. But overall, I think it's a pretty good truck, and so I really think it's gonna do good. There's some funkiness here, but I think if I sand it, prime it, it looks like a lot of gap on that door, but the door's open and shut very well, so I'm not gonna mess with it. I'm just gonna sand it, spray it, and paint it. I don't know if this is Bondo or if this is fiberglass. I just don't know how they did it. I need to do some research, but I think I can make this truck. I think I can stand down and make this truck better. And definitely a fresh coat of paint on this thing, and it's going to look great. So, but I want to make sure the paint job doesn't have to be perfect, but I want to make sure it's not going to flake off. I want to do enough prep work that it stays. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I want it to stay. All right, so that's a walkthrough of the outside of the truck. We're going to go ahead and hop in the truck. I made a little bit of video, which we might time lapse, of me driving home. Unfortunately, I didn't include my suction cup for the back window. I had a harness on, and you couldn't see over the window. It would have been a fantastic drive home, but it just didn't work out. So, well, we might include a little bit of that there. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around and kind of show you the controls. We've got the parking brake here. We've got the headlights here. Sorry, I was just playing with the dimmer. And yeah, so we got dash lights. I was just making sure. The guy told me he wasn't sure if we had dash lights or not, so, but it looks like we do. I need new windshield wiper motors. I've already found out. Like, luckily, it was a dry drive home. Radio works. I'm gonna find somewhere to mount a CV. There's that window crack that's gonna get fixed. That door also doesn't stay shut. But so normal operating procedure when you have electronic brakes is when you put the brake in with no power, it should do that because you don't have any engine power. So you've got hydraulic brakes, okay, off of the power steering pump type assembly that I showed. But if you lose engine power, you get electric brakes. So anytime the vehicle is not running, you should have that, right? So, but the thing is that tends to go even when the truck is... Okay. That it went away, but if I press the brakes for a little while, it doesn't do it. But if I disengage that and I really step on them, eventually it will start giving me the electric motor, which is indicative of some type of hydraulic failure, because the electric motor is used when there's a failure of that power steering pump or pressure, from what I've read. So, but I might need to find better backlighting. That's not dark yet, but that's not very well backlit. I don't really drive it like a lot at night, but I might need to do that. But we've definitely got some plans for this truck. I'm going to go ahead and put us back in park. Okay, we're parked. We're in neutral. If you clutch, I believe you pull this back. I'm going to let off the clutch. That's engaging the PTO. I've noticed that there's a light here for the PTO that does not work. We're going to give it a little gas because I know I'm going to need it. But oh, I'm backwards. Okay, sorry about that. So forward on this lever is disengaged on the PTO. You clutch, you pull it back, let off the clutch. That engages the PTO. So this should dump it. Back down. And I did have to idle up to get that to work. And that's probably because it spins, the PTO spins off of a little drive shaft thing. Okay. Clutch. Disengage that, unclutch. So this little drive shaft here is what the PTO is for. And that's what spins. And that must be, we must be attached to that lever. And that's what pushes in and out. So that's what engages it. It spins it, creates hydraulic pressure. And that's what rate gives you up and down. So overall, I think it's going to be a great truck. I think it needs a little bit of work, a little bit more than I thought it was going to need. But I don't think I'm upside down on it by any means. No air conditioning. Parking brake set. We're still in neutral. I'm going to turn off the headlights, and we're going to shut the key off, which doesn't shut it off. You got to choke it out. Overall, I'm glad we made it home. And a little bit of cleaning up. This pedal is kind of funky. I need to figure out why it's so loose. This is where we're at so far. All right, well, it's getting dark. I'm glad we made it home. And stay tuned. There's going to be more videos about this dump truck. As we do things to this dump truck, as we paint it, as we sand it, there's going to be videos that we do about this truck. So this is just phase one of getting a dump truck and getting it home. There's body work to do. There's paint to do. There's brakes to check. There's tires to check. There's intricacies that we've got to fix. Turn signals, they blink about once every 4 seconds. So we got to figure that out, whether it's a bulb or whether it's... Oh, hey. How did that make it there? Nice. That's a shroud for another headlight. That's crazy. But I did weigh this. I took it to the... we drove right past a salvage yard on the way home, so I went up on their scales, and with me in it, it weighed 12,960 pounds. So it would have been about 12,760 without me in it. So, but stay tuned. Definitely like and subscribe to our videos, and we'll definitely bring more videos about this truck because there's a lot to happen with it. Thanks.